What's up, guys? Dr. Kyle Loveless here with Queen City Health Center. Just to really quickly introduce myself so we can move on to the important stuff. My wife and I, Dr. Holly, have two clinics in the Charlotte area, one in Matthews and one in South Park. And really our whole mission is to change the way people view and, most importantly, manage your health. And so that's what this is about today. We're going to talk to you guys about a really cool topic with my buddy Andrew here. And I'm going to introduce Andrew in a second on my end, and I'm going to let him introduce himself so he can tell you more. But we're going to talk about mold today. And that's actually something that most people don't think about when they think about their health. It's just kind of, they just go through life and they think their symptom has to be based in some other issue, like the food they eat or not exercising enough. But I've seen so many patients that have come into our clinic that literally their health issue was completely diminished when we started detoxing their body from mold type stuff and the mycotoxins. So it's really cool. But just to kind of start out today, there's this whole idea of shifting your thinking and shifting your health, which is the name of this kind of show that we're doing here, is that you become your own health expert. When we talk about health, there's so many things you could be doing. There's so many things you can find online. You don't know what doctor to listen to. And I think with COVID and everything else that's happening right now, they're like ridiculously confused. They don't have a clue what to do. I mean, the World Health Organization has said 5 different things on the same topic in the last week. So, my advice is to stop listening to that, but that's just my advice. But we're going to dive in today with the idea of natural health care and how your body has this amazing ability to heal. It doesn't need help healing. It just needs no interference. So when we talk about health, every time you hear me talk about health, I don't talk about what to treat. I talk about how do we remove interference. And toxicities, specifically today mold and mycotoxins, is a huge interference to your body's ability to heal. So Andrew, a good buddy of mine, and we just started hanging out, what was it, like a year, 6 months?
Yeah.
5 months? I don't even know. A little bit ago when we work out every morning together, and about every morning together, and this guy's a powerhouse in working out, but he's also just an amazing Christian guy. He always has an amazing word of wisdom for me, or just for the group. And when I started learning about what he does and with mold and everything else, I just said we had to get him on to teach you guys. So he's going to be doing hopefully most of the talking today. I say hopefully because I talk too much, so it'd be my fault. But Andrew, tell them about you. Tell them about you and kind of like what you do so they can get a big picture, and then we'll dive into it.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you. First of all, if you're following this page and seeing Kyle, then you're on the right track. Like I really respect him, and we could probably do a Joe Rogan type 3-hour type of conversation maybe one day. But just a ton of knowledge here, and the fact is it's an equal opportunity for everybody because everyone's bodies are brilliantly made, and if we get the bad out of the way, our bodies will heal themselves. So I love that we align on the same value system. Mold's the 4-letter word no one likes to talk about because it's weird, creepy, a lot of fear or ignorance around it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people become experts on it because they unfortunately run into it and it affects them negatively. Some people think it's just the black mold, right, that goes around. That's the toxic stuff that'll kill you. And I'm not here to say that at all. Not to drive with fear, but just to get that awareness and then shift our thinking about it. But I'm an indoor environmental professional, so we do testing and inspections on homes and buildings for all types of toxicities. We actually just got the news from the CDC that we can test for COVID-19 in air and surface. It's a interesting predicament there.
How do you do that? You just wave a wet thing around and hope you catch some of it?
I don't truly know. If it's peace of mind for anybody, you can talk to me about it. We're talking about mold today because that's much better. We do testing.
Because we know that exists.
In homes.
So
Exactly.
Just kidding.
Exactly. I love it. So mold is a living substance. It has hyphae, which is a root system that goes into drywall, wood. It really exists everywhere. There's the God-made molds throughout trees and outside, and those are more allergenic. They're not going to hurt and kill anybody. Some people get allergies at different symptoms and different types, but the indoor stuff can really cause the toxicity. It's in the building materials that humans we've messed with that makes it much worse. And as he's probably talked about on previous episodes, that our indoor air is much more toxic actually than outdoor. And so with all this time indoors that we've had, people, if they've had a water event in their house, we'll get into more specifics, and I'll hopefully give some practicals for you guys to give a quick look into your house on how to give at least a quick check before testing and everything is done. But we go in as a third party. I have no incentive to find a problem in a home. I go in as an independent and assess a house with an infrared camera with moisture meters and check where mold could possibly be. So HVAC system, crawl spaces, attics, those are the normal ones unless there's been a water event. but then it affects people different. That's where we'll get into the health part of it, how mold allergy versus mold illness, and how, again, people are susceptible in different ways. But I do the testing, I get the lab results, interpret them, write up the scope of work for people to give to other companies, and then those companies go and do the remediation. And then, most importantly, I check on the back end of their work and make sure it was done properly and everyone is good to go in the home.
That's awesome.
I'm with Mold Authority, by the way.
That's what I was going to say.
That's the company.
So Mold Authority is the name of this company. The other thing I was going to ask you in the beginning, right before we started, you said you're going to give something, kind of give something away. You're going to give the opportunity to have something at the best discount you can get it. What is that?
Yes. So the Air Doctor is I believe, the best bang for your buck on a air purification system. Cycles over 2,000 square feet per hour, and down to like very, very low micron levels, way better than just a HEPA filter. And I would say every home needs that, especially in America with all these toxicities. We have a $300 discount for anyone who likes, shares, and comments. I'll personally send that link over to you, $300 off.
That's awesome.
And
cool. So that's the Air Doctor. That thing's legit.
Yeah, my wife and I have it right next to the bed. It's been a big help for our sleep and cleanliness of the air.
We don't, but we should.
Well, you will after this. gift to you.
No, we've been talking about. It's one of those things like you talk about it, like we're gonna get that, and then something else comes up, you get it, and then that's kind of one of those
I know how that is.
Yeah, it's huge. I did. That's cool. You said that with indoor versus. So I always say indoor air is way worse than outdoor air, but I never. I don't know how I missed this, but I didn't think about the idea that the molds that grow on material in the house are actually kind of man-made molds. In a way, it's a chemical-induced mold.
Yeah. Well, you won't find. It's very rare that you find certain strands of Stachybotrys, which is like the worst one, and then Chetomium. Those are both water damage associated types of molds, and they're very much harder to remediate. They got to just remove it.
Yeah.
Someone made a good point on an analogy. Basically, if you had a snake in your house, you would cut its head off to kill it, but you'd have to actually remove the body to get it out. You wouldn't just kill it and leave it there, right?
Yeah.
So some people think I can just kill mold, and before we go any further, I want to say that bleach does nothing for mold. So sorry to,
it does kill you.
Sorry about that myth,
bad
but
for you,
I've unfortunately hadn't. It's just people's awareness. It's okay. It's not common knowledge, unfortunately. But I bleached this and bleached that to get it off, and I was like, that just removed the color. It did nothing for the actual. There's a root system under there. It's a living.
Yeah.
It's a living thing, so it needs to be cut out and removed.
Yeah, most people don't get that. Most people do say, I put mold on it or whatnot, and it went away. That's cool.
Yeah.
So tell me so you walked through kind of what you do, but when you go to somebody's house, you mentioned crawl spaces and you mentioned what else? HVACs and things like that.
Attics, yeah.
When I go in my crawl space, it feels like it's just got to be a place where everything bad happens.
I know.
It's just dark
and
like humidity.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets wet and So talk to people about that.
Yeah, crawl spaces are interesting. Even the most beautiful homes I've been in, like multi-million-dollar homes, they have a crawl space that if it does have very high humidity and not a dehumidifier down there, improper vapor barrier, a lot of condensation throughout, that can just be an environment where there's much less air circulation and molds can grow on there. That air, due to stacking effect, air pressure, over time, different temperatures will move that air from the crawl space into the living area. So some people think, it's just my crawl space. It can be, a hellhole down there, and then it doesn't matter. But over time, when the temperatures changes and air pressure, it will move, and your whole home is one unit. So really knowing that it's a big breathable unit that goes from attic, crawl space, and all the way through. Smaller percentages, of course, so don't freak out if your attic has some crawl space has contamination, and thinking that every breath you're taking in your bedroom, it's from your crawl space. But like I said, if the humidity is high there, it will grow that on a lot of the wood beams. If you see the insulation starting to fall down, like webs and everything, that is actually the condensation in the insulation pulling up the moisture from the ground, as if like a napkin you'd go to like water and soak it up. Same thing your insulation's doing. It absorbs that and starts to fall down. And if it's really contaminated down there, it will move up into the home that way. I know. Yeah.
Nobody likes talk about invisible enemy. That's your invisible enemy.
Seriously.
That's the invisible enemy. So let me ask you this. We earlier we were talking before we did this, when I was like kind of thinking about what I was going to talk to you about or ask you, and I said talk to me about like some stories. So tell me, I can almost guarantee there's a story. We haven't talked about this yet, kind of did, but I guarantee there's a story where someone was like, "Oh no, everything's fine. I don't know, but I'm sick," and then they just somebody maybe told them, "Hey, you should probably check for mold or something," and then all of a sudden you figured it out. Like, tell me a story like that.
There's a bunch. I could get into a specific story, but I've had a lot that I can put together. So one, for instance, was a multi-million-dollar home on the lake, beautiful, brand new. The grading was pushing a lot of water into the crawl space, so they knew they had a problem starting to go down there with a lot of water over time. But what happened is they had a duct in their crawl space that had detached. So when the system would turn on, it would pull like a vacuum from the crawl space air that was already contaminated into the home. And so the office that the guy worked in all day, and unfortunately the whole family had really bad symptoms and they knew it too. They're like, where's this coming from? And they got that office tested. It was 127,000 times the high limit that we would say of certain types in the office. And you would never tell. It's a beautiful home. So that's why the HVAC system is very important to get checked every six months, maybe 6 to 12 months, making sure that an HVAC specialist is checking for air leaks and things like that, and then the system itself, the coil. Want to get some of that language.
So when you say checks, is that like you come in to check, or is that like the HVAC guy coming to check?
Yeah, I do give some inspection for that, but I'm not a certified HVAC specialist, so I know where to look and see some of those signs, but they need to make sure that it's installed properly, there's no air leaks, the installation's done properly. But it was pulling that air and blowing it right into the house, and unfortunately they all had different symptoms there. But some it's also like you could have a bunch of water just getting behind a bad seal, maybe in your bathroom. It's very common there, or in the sink. And over time, if you smell the musty smell, you're already into it. Like that, that's already been a problem, and that's actually the mycotoxin release. Very quickly, the mold spore is the unit, and the living thing, and then the mycotoxin is like the fog from the factory, and that they colonize and move that off gassing, and that's what the mycotoxin is. And when you do a mycotoxin panel, which I'd love for you to talk about, that's what you start to see is what they've inhaled or eaten through different foods. We can talk about that as well, and that shows up in our body through urine samples and other places. So
wow, cool. So when I think about mold, I always think about like the person that they're like, man, I'm just tired all the time. I have brain fog. I think chronic pain syndromes, sometimes autoimmune issues, digestive issues, and migraine headaches, a big one. And that person's like, they've been to all these doctors. The doctor's like, nothing's wrong, and they just get that diagnosis. Like, no, it's in your head. I've literally heard that so many times from people. Like, the doctor said it's in my head. I said, well, first of all, I don't do that. It's not in your head. There's something happening here. Maybe it's your emotions, but it's not in your head. So we need to figure out what's actually causing it. And so we'll go through testing for stuff. You can do I don't typically like go straight to mycotoxin testing. What I'll typically do is go through like other like hormone testing, digestive system testing, things like that.
That's good.
And then if it's like, man, something's not right here. Then it's like a light bulb goes in my head, like, unless they gave me a history that's like they were in a wet environment, like a history that just sounds like mold, right? Because there's so many symptoms that go along similar to that. But then it's like this light bulb that goes in my head. We're not getting anywhere. I'm like, I need to check for mold. It's like mold and heavy metals. It's like we need to check for that stuff. And so then we'll do you can do a panel on that. Cytotoxins, you can also check DNA. You can we talked about MTHFR. So it's actually a genetic thing. And what that ultimately happens is your body isn't methylating properly, and your body's not detoxing properly.
Right.
So this is the scenario I think of when I think of mold personally. In my experience with it, like in my life, right, is when I was in chiropractic school. I lived in the oldest house. So we're at the beach, right? We're in Daytona Beach, right next to Port Orange. I lived in the oldest house in Port Orange. The oldest house in Port Orange, but it was right next to the river. So to me, it was the coolest house in Port Orange, right?
Right.
I walk outside and go fishing and do all that cool stuff. So it was a sweet house, but it still had lead paint and everything.
Okay.
This is back when I was just like invincible in my head.
Right.
So I lived in this house with three other guys, and I was dating Holly at the time. And like it was so bad. Like I remember one day I walked in the kitchen, I looked up, and there was a bubble of water sitting in the lead paint. Like the lead paint was so strong it was holding it.
Was it coming from the roof?
It's coming from the bathroom.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the kitchen and the bathroom's right above it.
Right. Okay.
And so I just one day I couldn't take it anymore because we're poor kids. We was just like whatever. No big deal. And I walked by with a broom and just went douche.
No way.
It is everywhere. But that house just stunk. There was mold all in there, and and Holly would get sick in there.
Wow.
But I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of crazy because there's patients that come in, they're like, but my husband lives in that environment and he's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so like sometimes it's actually, some people can actually get rid of that and detox, and their methylation pathways and liver is working really well.
Yeah.
And they're detoxing. It's the same scenario of like, how does somebody drink like or smoke cigarettes every day and live to 100? They're handling the stress of the cigarettes. They're detoxing, right? Their body's working.
Right,
better.
somehow, yeah.
So that's why when I think of mold, I think of those scenarios.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's not just like everybody's not the same.
Right.
Even with mold. Right. It's bad for anybody. It's a stressor on anybody's body, no doubt. But some people are going to see crazy symptoms from it, and some people not as bad. Or they might see it while they're in it, and then once they get out of that environment, they're fine.
Yep.
Whereas other people, they were in that environment 3 or 4 years ago, and they're still having health issues.
Yes.
So do you know something about that?
That's spot on. I mean, rewind that whole thing. That was really spot on. About 25 to 30% of people have that genetic makeup that don't detox these things properly, because we were made to be able to handle that. Someone gave another good analogy about a toxic overload bucket, right? That if we're eating bad and we're not exercising and we already have all these things going on, the mold,
taking lots of medications, getting vaccines, those are
all that
stuff.
Too, yes, it keeps pouring in, and then mold can be the trigger. So it's like, it never did affect me until now. I've heard every scenario. Like people, I was always fine until this. I want to give a shout out to a client yesterday, man. That the husband has been so persistent to care for his wife and really look like what's going on, because she is so sensitive to it. She's had a history of a lot of things going on, and it's actually brought their marriage together in a sense, because they've done something together to cool. Knock it out. Unfortunately, other times, there's been divorces because of this. I mean, she's crazy. I don't know or he's crazy. I don't know what he's saying or what he's smelling, and what he's got all these crazy symptoms, and his brain's wild, and he's not remembering things.
It messes you up.
It really can, and I feel really bad. I always say, like, when I'm in a house like this, I got sometimes too much empathy to be doing the work I do. I'm like, it's a tough scenario.
I'll just do it, right?
Right. It's not always the easiest fix either, and it really is done like a surgery. So I'll really quickly jump into remediation and get back to what you said. In remediation, if there was a issue under your sink, for instance, and it was just localized to that problem, which I hope it is, not spread throughout the house, but if it's there, we write up a remediation plan that blocks off and contains that area so that we do a house surgery on that place. Okay. That way, when mold starts to get disturbed and cut out and removed, it's not sporulating throughout the home, because then that condition 3, which is the growing fungus there, is not sporulating to condition 2 and settling throughout the rest of the home.
So that's really big, because if you're like me, you're like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, the contractors unfortunately has made a lot of homes worse.
Right?
Yeah. So if a contractor comes in and starts ripping this thing up, that's going all throughout the home, and so
it's like those HGTV things you watch, and they're tearing out mold. I've seen that.
And unless it's properly remediated after and cleaned up with the right, and even with these chemicals, that's a different story of how it gets cleaned, but they're getting way more to natural and hydrogen peroxide based that really does a great job on it. But it really needs to be remediated properly, and that's part of what we do as an independent company that tests and writes up the scope of work. So I don't actually do the remediation.
Good, because that would not be fun.
No, not at all. Trust me, I write up work and I'm like, thank God I don't have to do what I'm writing up. Someone else can do this. So we want to localize the problem as much as possible. I see it as a house surgery. I don't see it as just a construction job, like you said, and just tearing something up, because that it is a living thing that will move around and sporulate throughout the house. And for the sensitive people who have already been exposed, they can sense it like they have extra senses for this stuff. So I really feel most for them. Very quickly, there's 3 different types of testing methods that are most common. A swab is if you see something, you just identify it, see what condition it is, and what to do with that. Okay. Air sample would be grabbing air for 5 to 10 minutes in a certain room and see what the levels are compared to outside, and compare those 2 levels. Cool. And finally would be an ERMI test, which is a DNA analysis of dust. So you get a dust collection sample of a room or an entire home, and then you send it off to the lab. They do that PCR test, and they do a certain type of panel that basically tells the molds that are most associated with water damaged buildings, and then some of those actually match the mycotoxin producing ones that cause us problems, and those sometimes can match on the urine sample. So I've gotten doctors like yourself who say, we've already had the mycotoxin panel done, this is what's going on in their body, you check the home, and we'll try to match it,
See
because
if that's where it's coming from.
right, and this goes back to what you said before. If someone already has mold lodged in their body from 30 years ago, or they grew up in this, that's why I like to ask people, like, did you grow up in a home like this? Like, what's the history of your home or of your life? Is this going on in your body, or just in your current home? And we do we do those testings and then match them up with their testings in their body, because some people can have it from the past, like you said.
Yeah, that's actually when you said you can be really sensitive to it, and you kind of know when it's there.
Yeah.
Hotels.
Big time,
big
man.
time. Seminars. Yeah. I mean, when we go to seminars, I there's certain places I've been where I'm like, I just don't feel good here. But like Holly can really tell. And I have some friends that are just like, there's mold here. And, but that could, if you're that person that doesn't detox properly, and you went and stayed maybe a weekend or a week, whatever, in that hotel, I mean, that you could be actually still sick or symptoms from that experience too.
Right.
So that's big.
Right. So some of the mold allergy symptoms is what everyone thinks. I'm gonna cough, sneeze, get the itchy eyes, and it's gonna be like an allergy type of symptom. I think kind of from the shoulders up.
Well, like headaches too. Is that?
And at times I can feel that in certain environments, and just it's a quicker response. The mold illness is when it becomes chronic, and people can then have gut issues and digestive stuff, and then it can turn to fibromyalgia. There's all kinds of things that can come from that. Unfortunately, the list gets longer and longer of symptoms, and that's why I don't like to start with that, because it's
a constant immune response.
Exactly.
Like it's just like anything else. Like if you any chemical, any heavy metals, it could be if you had like Epstein-Barr virus, for instance, that can just build up, absorb into the thyroid and things like that. The body starts attacking the thyroid. So Hashimoto's could be from mold issues. You could have all these autoimmune things. So that's why it's so hard. You know, when people say, I have this disease, what do you think caused it? Let's start going down the list of all this stuff, and so that's why I'm such a big fan of testing. Obviously, you are too. Testing, not just guessing what it is.
Exactly.
Because I had a patient today. She goes, "Man, what do you do for my husband has prostate issues? What do you do for prostate issues?" I was like, "Well, it matters why your husband has prostate issues. There could be a lot of reasons."
Medical community will
take this, right?
Take this or remove that.
Exactly. Take this or remove this. Yeah, exactly. So we got to actually figure out what's actually causing it. So if you're someone that's been through, maybe you're thinking back and you're like, hey, I lived in a wet environment, or I lived down at the beach. That's in general, just the air is so wet there. I've heard somebody tell me that this is true. To like your house, you should never let it get below, I think like 74 consistently, because it can actually, it's like a temperature that's anything above that allows things to grow better. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, mold can grow in all the normal house level temperatures. The humidity is the main thing. You don't want humidity past. Really, in your home, you don't want it past 55, but it doesn't really start growing mold until it's like 60 to 65, but you just don't want it above 55. So
what if somebody's like constantly doing dehumidifier or stuff like that?
That could be helpful. I mean,
I'm sorry. What if somebody's constantly doing a humidifier?
Oh, humidifiers.
Would that cause? Could that lead?
I guess. Humidifiers aren't terrible unless you have it going too much and too many of them. I guess, but you just want to know also that your system's running properly, and there isn't.
So that person that's like, I've experienced damp environments, I just feel like that's happened to me. Then it's not necessarily do this. Like, some things you can do right off the bat is boost your immune response. Do whatever you can to strengthen your immune system, because that's what's helping you get rid of it. Do whatever you can to strengthen your liver. Right, so that's really big. There's a lot of people that come into our clinics that have fatty liver issues. Have no idea they have fatty liver issues, and they're like, "Well, I don't drink."
Exactly.
Well, watch this. Tylenol. If you take Tylenol on a regular basis, the number one cause of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is taking Tylenol. And there's people taking that on a daily basis. Ibuprofen, aspirin, all those things are going to cause that. Sugar, high fructose corn syrup, anything with fructose is 100% digested in your liver. So if you eat tons and tons of high fructose corn syrup, if you eat what's that one they said everybody thinks is really healthy? Agave nectar. That's all fructose. So your liver has to process all that stuff. And so what can happen is that your liver actually can get backed up, not work properly, or you have fatty liver issues, and you're not methylating, you're not detoxing, and you can have symptoms from all kinds of stuff from that.
Yeah.
High estrogens will stem from stuff like that.
Wow.
And we could go down a list of everything.
Yeah, then you add mold to that environment, and it's all backed up, and different
So,
symptoms pop up. What have you done for people, like to have them detox some of this out? There's a lot of different methods.
So my first step in detoxing is actually not detoxing. My first step in detoxing is strengthen your body to be able to handle detox. For most people, like a real detox. I'm not talking about like an eating plan. Like,
right.
Yeah. First step, get on non-inflammatory eating plan so you're not adding tons of more stress, right? Second step is if you can do food allergy testing so you can tell what things are creating inflammation in your body too.
Yeah.
And good things, right?
Yeah.
So get those things out. We do chiropractic here to strengthen the body through stress, help it handle stress better.
Huge fan.
So it helps the body handle stress.
Yeah.
Then we start to do supportive liver stuff like desiccated liver. Right, so actual animal organs, right?
Yeah.
You give people that so their liver starts to get stronger. Give them Shashandra, which is a really good liver supplement to help support the liver.
Yeah, milk thistle is one.
Milk thistle, you can do milk thistle too. And then from there, now that they're starting to build up strength, and if they have gut issues or anything else, start addressing those.
Okay.
And then after we do that, we get rid of the stress, all these stressors and inflammation. Then we start saying, okay, now let's start to detox your body.
Yeah.
Because if you detox, you pull all these toxins that are building up in your cells. Into your fat tissue and everything else, and you start pulling it into the bloodstream and trying to get it into the gut and try to get it out, but your gut's a mess, and your liver's not working very well, you're actually going to get worse.
Yeah.
I've seen people get worse because I used to do detoxes with people before I really grasped the big picture of it, and they would just get worse. I'm like, oh, it's the detox effect. But then they never got better.
Oops.
Oops, right? And so, but then we, hopefully, change that. But the point is that detox is big. So then, once we get to that point where you're ready to detox, I'm a big fan of using things like high antioxidant stuff that boosts glutathione. Mm-hmm. So your precursors for glutathione, your cruciferous vegetables, the amino acids that are precursors for glutathione, we'll do that in a supplement form.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
So boost your glutathione, which is your body's strongest detoxifier. And then we also give you something like activated carbon to help absorb those things as they're coming out, so they don't just go into your gut and go right back into your system.
Right.
Something that's actually really good is called, I just can't believe I just lost the name of it. It'll come to me as we're talking, but it's a spray, and it's big for heavy metals, but it's just a really strong antioxidant and actually helps bind to other stuff too.
Wow.
As well
it's
as...
not silver, the colloidal silver?
Not colloidal silver, no. It's a... it'll come to me. I can't remember. I lost the name. I just gave someone...
Do you ever use binders at all? Because I know that's
activated carbon, it's like a binder. It like binds to it.
Okay, it's like charcoal?
It's the same thing. I'm sorry.
Is it?
It's
okay, you said carbon.
Thing.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
there's
cool.
just so many names for it. There's activated carbon, activated charcoal.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay,
so
cool.
It's
That's
charcoal. Yeah,
good.
so it binds to those toxins, help pulls it out when you actually use the restroom.
Right on.
So same thing. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, and shout out to Dr. Jess Petros. She's another one online that if you have mold problems and you can't talk to Dr. Kyle or you do, you add them both.
Nice.
She has a kill, bind, sweat method, which is basically get your body ready for detox first. I'll just jump right into this, but it's the same thing. Yeah. It's you get the antifungal, antiviral, and take the oreganos and things that kill the stuff in your body. Then you take those binders, and then you make sure you're sweating every day. So a lot of sauna sessions. Some people have sweated out black from just like really, really heavy amounts of, a lifelong, environment of that, and they've sweated it out of their third kidney, their skin, their largest organ, and gotten rid of these things that way. Cool. So our elimination, right, is coming through a lot of different ways.
It's like when it comes to detox, I've really gotten away from like, hey, everybody do this program. Like
it's got to be custom.
Yeah. So like even like the idea of oregano, I like it, but the problem is it kills everything.
You're right.
So now now your gut is a mess. Now we got to restore that.
Yeah.
So like if we can go in and test and say, okay, maybe it's something like Uber Ursi instead, or because that's this we know that'll start to kill some stuff off, or like a golden seal. That's a great thing for killing off yeast and molds and fungi and stuff like that. So that's similar thing. So it's just figuring out like, okay, this individual, what should they use?
Yeah,
so,
I'm not here giving medical advice. I just wanted to throw out some things I knew, but that's this guy.
Oregano's amazing. Oregano really is good. You just don't want to take it very long.
Yeah.
2 weeks, maybe a month. If you take it more than that, I've had people come in that are doing that, like the essential, people that love I call them essential oilers.
I love it.
Like oilers. We use essential oils, so I'm not downing.
Same, me too. They're great.
But the people that just love it, and that's like their thing, it's essential oilers. And they oregano, and they're taking this daily, like all the time. Like,
it's powerful.
You're killing
It's too
yourself.
powerful.
You can't do that. They're really sick.
Yeah.
And so by changing that up and replenishing the gut, you can get good changes.
Yeah.
So just kind of bringing it back. So mold.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not just something you're like, okay, I have mold, I clean it out. It could be starting with a symptom that's your first detection.
Yes.
And so tell them your recommendation for just across the board, like testing when you should do it, how often you should do it in your home, stuff like that.
Well, before you even spend $1, you're the owner of your own home, or you're the one who lives in there. So, for free, walk around your own home with a flashlight, check your vents, check the corners and see if there's any discoloration. If any water event happens, there's a big spill, big leak, make sure that's dried up as fast as possible, because if not, then it's going to just sit on those boards. I had a home recently that, girl was just wanting to redo her floor, so she's like, I'll pull this up myself, and continues finding these spots of not the safest type of mold under there. And I'm like, where's this coming from? It's in the middle of the floor. There's no water that would have come in anyway. And it was people who just spilled a lot into this floor and didn't really clean it too well, and who knows, and it just like went through the little flooring, and it just sat there underneath for a while. And maybe it didn't cause too many problems because it was so lodged in and non-viable, but ripping it up, now it's exposed in the air too. So just knowing that, like, taking care of your home is really important. If there's a very heavy, dusty environment, mold sits within dust. I've taken swab samples of something that looks like normal everyday household dust, and it's extremely high in Aspergillus penicillium, which is a very common two groups of molds that have hundreds of species within those two parents, and causes a lot of different problems in people. And when you take the mycotoxin panel, those are some of those mycotoxin producing ones as well. And if you can mention about foods, if you'd like, that can have some molds or mycotoxins in it that are more susceptible.
Oh, yeah. So you can have like peanuts. That's a big one.
Peanuts, really low grade coffee. I hate to burst your guys' bubble on the Keurigs, but
plus the we got a buddy, a friend that does that. Where I was going to talk to him yesterday about that, but I forgot. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Keurigs. I hate the Keurigs. But the coffee also high. Not just that in coffee. You also have tons of MSG. You have all kinds of chemicals. Number one pesticide crop, I'm pretty sure, is coffee.
Right.
So organic coffee, that's a big deal.
It is big, and coffee is one of the most tasty things on the planet. I know, and everyone in America is addicted to it, because no matter what time in the morning, you have 5 hours where the line at Starbucks is completely. That's another conversation as well. But
mycotoxin central.
I bet. I mean, you could taste the burn on
so
that
gross.
Stuff. Yeah. Anyway, we're here not trying to diss everybody, but
unless it's that.
Right. But so in your home, like, do your own inspection for free. You don't need me for that one. Go make sure you know your own home a little bit, and pull up the side of a carpet if there's some discoloration, and see what the tack strip looks like, and make sure that's all clean. And the wood should look fairly dried out. One thing about new construction that people miss is that how many times we're going through these massive rainstorms and homes are half built.
I see that all the time. Like, and these, man, how does that not affect? I know they treat the wood, so that kind of helps, but
sort of treat the wood. I mean, they're whipping these things up faster and faster, and I'm like, I don't know, that thing didn't get dried out properly, treated properly.
That's a big one.
It's very interesting where some attics I go into, all the wood had radically high humidity, because there was most likely very high moisture content wood. Then they close it up, they build the house really tight for energy efficiency, and now new construction is just as susceptible to mold as old. So mold doesn't always mean old. Mold means moisture and building material. That's really what happens.
That's really good.
It's really important. Yeah, some people, I got a brand new house. Well, there's still some things to look for, and testing is definitely the best way to confirm these things. But don't negate that you have eyes as well to look through and find, okay, I'm looking for where water can intrude, and be the steward of your own home that way.
One last question on that area, and this is kind of a side step, I guess, but so I have a lot also teachers. Mm-hmm. Schools are ridiculous.
Dude, schools are
like I mean they see it, and it's So is there any advice for someone that's like in an environment that they can't control it getting cleaned? A lot of times I've seen they'll go and cover it up with something.
I know, that's a tough one. I'm actually very convinced that some kids really, they're already high energy and full of life, and if just their little bouts of freaking out or memory loss or trouble learning and the ADHD, who knows, like, it could totally be from all those hours in those buildings. So I would say if you know that as a parent, or you're wanting to, not out of fear, but just being responsible, you want to like look into that or ask the maintenance manager, have you guys actually done a thorough mold inspection? Have you tested? Like I want the place where my kid is going to be in school to be a healthier place. So to be honest, I don't know, except how about we build the body of the kids, right? Like strengthen the body is huge.
So much sugar.
Yeah.
I guess if you know, like if you're a teacher and you're going to the thing, I guess you could take activate charcoal or carbon daily. That's just a lot. You remineralize and stuff. You're doing that every day.
Right.
So I was just curious.
It's a good one. I mean, a lot of these public places are, it's just, schools in and out, hotels in and out, and we just, years go by and nothing gets tested and looked at closely.
To not dive into too much, and we can talk about nutrition. I think that it's just that idea of like an anti-inflammatory diet, reducing sugar, strengthen your body up so it has a better opportunity to detox properly. Right. Foods that are really just good for your liver. Like people don't realize organ meats are one of the highest methylating foods on the planet. So like we grew in generations past, organ meat was a part of dinner.
Right.
So, and that's one thing we've taken out. And methylating high methyl foods are what help you detox.
Wow.
So some vegetables that are high methyl, not nearly like organ meat, but vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, your real cruciferous vegetables, right? Your cauliflowers, things like that. Those are high methyl groups, and they help you detox really well.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of organ meat. So whether it's a desiccated organ like liver, or actually eating it, even though it doesn't taste good, I'm working on getting
season it up.
I know it's the texture, man. So I chop it in little bitty pieces and chunk it in with some ground beef or something.
There you go.
But eating those things, actually, even though they sound gross to us, was a normal part of life.
Right.
And that methylation, that high methyl groups are actually probably, I would say that because we're not eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of people, and then also you're taking organ meats out, our methyl groups are really reduced, and it affects the liver, it affects detoxification. That's simple. That's not, you don't need a detox. I actually don't like detox programs for the biggest reason.
Right.
Because they think it's a 30-day plan.
Right.
Like, you should every day be doing things that are helping your body detoxify.
Exactly.
Right? I've taken liver supporters for probably, 2 years on a regular basis. Just because I know that the world we live in has a lot of chemicals. So I want to support my liver on a regular basis.
I'm a huge fan of that. It's, with the diet, detox, we think it's this short term. We should live a life of health. And
that's huge. And this is what's cool. This is the reason I wanted you to do this is because you actually live and talk and do all that stuff that we've always done as well. And we've just kind of started to know each other recently. Yeah. But it's cool because I'll say something, you're like, and then I'm like, nice.
Well, and this is the coolest thing.
So you're living and not just doing some part of it as a job, but this is like your lifestyle too.
Thank you, man.
Cool. It's a passion you have.
Same thing with you. Thank you. Yeah, we've had enough hypocrites in different industries. But with this, I think there's been no bridge between the health community and the remediators and contractors and people doing the housework. And there's been this huge gap because I've actually had a lot of doctors be very, very frustrated because remediation was done improperly. They're not, my industry, right, is not educated on the health side of it. And so we do go in and rip things up, or we're careless about it. We don't really know the sensitivities on the body side. So I am the bridge, being the testing and inspection company, not the remediators, to make sure the remediators are in line and doing things properly, while also talking with the doctors, getting more and more knowledge from them, and really helping the client, because there's been a lot of horror stories in this industry, big time, and so I look forward to seeing that change.
It can give it kind of a bad name for some people. It's like, they came in, they did this, but then this happened, and I get that. Yeah. So and that's why I wanted you to come on. So you're not only a solid human being, you love the Lord, and you're also, you walk that out. You don't just talk about it, right? By the way, me and him meet up every day at 6 a.m. to work out and
it's a blast.
Kill it, right? And pray. We do all that stuff. So, so I really understand who he is, and so if you're looking for someone I'm sorry. You need to have mold evaluation. Everybody needs to do it. It's a smart thing to do. So he's your guy to actually reach out to. So just real quick for them, give them your information real fast in terms of how to connect with you, whether it's a website or a phone number. Do that, and then we're gonna bring up that air doctor again, and then we're gonna kind of wrap it up.
Good. No, I love talking. We could go on for a long time, and I love this guy. So moldauthority.com, very simple, moldauthority.com, and we also have an Instagram page and Facebook page. But my email specifically is andrew@moldauthority.com. Very, very simple. So if you want to get in touch with me there, please ask any questions. I'm all about giving as many things free as possible until we have to charge for it with lab fees and things like that. So ask me all questions for free. Free phone calls hey, I had this happen in the past. Just bounce all that off of me, please. And with today's, if you like, share, comment, this will also be up on YouTube. So just reach out to me, Andrew at moldauthority.com. We have an Air Doctor special where this $600+ unit that I believe is worth closer to $1,000 with the value that it is a great company. A lot of people in your position as health professionals say this is the one to get. We have a $300 off. Totally beats Amazon's price, so skip them and come on here. And we have that link for you. Very, very effective, and you'll see a difference for sure. And then just be checking, be very aware. Now that it's in your awareness now, and you can be mindful of it, just give a look. If there's high dust environment, or you're seeing like funky symptoms with your child or your own self, and maybe it could be this, then bounce those symptoms off him, and the questions about your home to me. So we get to work together, and
awesome.
this is what the vision is, man, to connect all these industries and help you guys out.
Super cool. Okay, cool. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this. I know actually I learned a lot from it, and that's the other reason I actually wanted to sit down and hang out with you and talk about that stuff. I was like, why don't we just do a video, and then I'll learn that way. So, so anyways, but thanks so much for watching. This is Shift Your Thinking so you can shift your health. And ultimately, our goal is that you become your own health expert. Hopefully, that was the next step in that process. Hey guys, like this, love it, and share it. I know that people don't have a clue about most of this stuff because I see them every day talking about their health issues and they have no idea why. So share this stuff because that can actually help more people join this mission with us.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys. We will talk to you next time. Have an awesome day.